Hi, Jordan. Welcome to our fireside chat here at Cygnify. It's great to have you.
It is a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming. Jordan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you here today?
I've been working in tech for literally decades. Wrote the first code I was paid for in 1981. I've worked at large companies like Apple, Adobe Systems, Yahoo, Indeed, but I've also worked in startups. So I have both that experience in kind of the, hey, we've got 5,000 people scope, as well as the, hey, we're running from 0 to 20 right now. We're running from 20 to 100. And that's, I think that's unique. A lot of people don't have that point of view. In addition, my roles have been both product and engineering focused. So I, really have worked at that intersection of the business and the technology my entire career. And that is, I think, also given me a unique perspective that a lot of people don't have. Hey.
I mean, you've been in the industry for so long. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think the biggest shift is in the tech industry that companies are underestimating right now?
So I come to this with a kind of a historical perspective of having lived through things. I lived through the mini computer revolution, the personal computer revolution, web, mobile, all of these. And I remember in the web thing, there were a lot of predictions about what was going to happen. And as we saw with the dot bomb fallout, the reality was that in the short term, people were thinking the impact would be much bigger than it was. But in the long term, those most bright and shiny and glorious visions they had for the future were way under what had happened. And I think that we're seeing the same thing happen with AI. Now, the thing about AI is there have been multiple AI winters, that have happened over the decades, going back to the 80s and 90s. But I think we need to realize that in the short term, our brightest visions may not come to fruition, but in the long term, yes, they're going to. And it's going to be incredibly impactful. I think, the one thing I'm very interested in is right now we're in a world with AI of what I'll call intelligent assistants. These are where the AI is supporting me. I'm still a human in the loop. The AI is not operating independently. But the future we want to get to is the agentic future, where that system has agency, it has autonomy. I trust it to do things for me. And that is the change that we're navigating right now. How quickly will that play out? I don't know. There's a lot of people who are, I'll call it agentic washing. So they're basically saying, oh, this is agentic. And then you actually step back and look at it and it's like, no, that's an assistant. That's not an agent. And I wonder how that's going to be play out, because I think that's going to be the biggest trend that we're going to see.
How do you see these changes, right, impacting your industry and your space in the next 12 months?
So I think, one of the biggest things that we're seeing with kind of the advent of kind of software, based assistants, not agents, but assistants that are working with me, is really happening very deeply in software engineering. There's just a confluence of things that make it really positive to happen. But that's having some very interesting unintended consequences. If you kind of look at people's career progression, how they progress through their career, it goes through kind of 4 phases. And it turns out that these phases actually go back to the Middle Ages and the Middle Age guilds. So you start out as an apprentice, and an apprentice does directed contribution. Here I give you kind of a task list, and I expect you to be able to do these tasks, but I need to explain to you why those tasks are important. I need to put them together in the right order and everything. That's the apprentice. The next level up is, in the Middle Ages framework, was the journeyman. And journeymen kind of work in kind of 2 stages. The first is, hey, this is unambiguous. It's go solve this problem, but it's a very well understood problem. It's very well solved. There's not a lot of ambiguity around it. And so I'm operating independently, I'm contributing independently, but it's well defined. The next stage up is that journeyman or that journey person who is tackling a problem that's in an ambiguous context. They're operating independently. They might have a few people working with them that they're leading, but it's unambiguous. And the final stage, which was the master craftsman in the Middle Ages, that is, I work through others. I give you a vision. You know, the Sistine Chapel, there was a master craftsman there. His name was Michelangelo, and he said, hey, this is what we're going to do. But there were tons of journeymen and tons of apprentices, and there were even some masters under Michelangelo doing that. And that's kind of the stage we think. Now, here's the thing. With the advent of intelligent assistants, things like Cursor or Claude Code, what you're seeing is those first two stages are blown away. They're not there anymore. And the thing is to get to the third stage, you need to have experience. You know, a university education is great. It gives you an incredible foundation. I'm the last to belittle that. But there are just things you don't learn that you learn
The real world.
in the real world, in your internships, in your initial work. But that's just been blown away. That's not there anymore. And you hear it. You talk to young people. You know, if you look at like even places like Stanford, people coming out of Stanford and CS, and they can't get internships. They can't get jobs. This was not the case even 4 years ago. And, you know, it's happening. I think as an industry, our challenge will be, how do we bring people to stage 3? How can we bring them? Because it turns out that when you look at using an intelligent coding assistant, it is an incredible power for someone who has experience that's at a certain level. But if you're not there, it's schlock. You don't know how to frame a problem. You don't know how to discover a problem. You don't know how to pursue it. You don't know whether what it's giving you is garbage or whether it's quality. Now, you put that in the same hands of that person, that journeyman level 2 or that master craftsman, and they just go to town with it. And it's how are we going to manage that progression in the industry? And the thing is right now, let's be honest, there is a talent glut right now out there. It is very hard for people to find positions and to find roles, even those who are highly skilled, who are in that 3 and 4 stage. But I predict down the road, 5-10 years, what we're going to see is, we killed our pipeline. It's not there. And we don't have anybody to fill those roles. And how are we going to navigate this? So I think we need to look at how are we going to bring AI into the education process. How are we going to teach people to do this? And I think it's going to be fundamentally a really big problem to solve. And I think it's one that companies need to be thinking about, because right now they're looking at the short-term gains. I can have a smaller team, without thinking about what is the long-term impact. And it's the classic tragedy of the commons where, hey, my actions optimized here for me are great, but they create an environment that longer term are not great for us.
We need to start thinking about how to nurture talent as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We need to be thinking about that. How do we nurture how we develop? I've really enjoyed in my career that ability to get that young talent, bring it in, nurture it, develop it, all of that. And, I think we've got to make that, tech leaders need to make that part of their DNA.
Yeah, priority. What's your plan then of how you plan to nurture talent?
So we're still at the company I'm at, Jordan AI. We're the leader in agentic AI in Japan. And we're still bringing in interns. We're still working with them. But, I had a conversation last night with my youngins about, how to tackle a problem. And I literally said, well, have you considered using an X here? And they kind of looked at me blankly, deer in the headlight. And I said, okay, here's a Wikipedia article. Go read up on this. And then I think you'll figure out why it's applicable. And that's exactly what happened. But they need someone to feed that stuff to them. So we need to still bring interns in. It'll be fewer interns. It won't be as big, but it'll still happen. I think we also need to go back in and talk with the universities. And how do we integrate this into? you see a lot of professors, if you follow things on social media, whether it's Twitter or Threads or whatever, people complaining about, oh, well, my student turned in this AI assignment. And it's like, that necessarily isn't bad if they are using it as a tool, and it's very clearly it's a tool. We used to go, I remember when I was in university and I was writing a paper, I would go down to the library. There was no computer, there was a card catalog, and I would go, and then I would go to the stacks and I'd find the books. And something that I can do today with Perplexity, or even a decade ago with just quick database searches, would take me 2 days, 3 days. Is it cheating to use a computerized database or to use Perplexity to do that kind of research? No, it's not. But you need to learn how to do it and how to apply it correctly.
How to use it the right way to help nurture these talented minds as well, right? So that's great to hear. Actually, I'm also part of Sponsors in Tech, where we help students and freshers coming out of university and help groom them from the job market.
Well, you know what? Reach out to me.
This sounds like an amazing opportunity to collaborate, actually.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, reach out to me.
Yes.
Let's have this conversation and work on it, because this is an area I'm very passionate about. I made Singapore my home about a decade ago, and I have been working to help build the ecosystem, both the engineering and the startup ecosystem in Singapore. And this is passion for me. So let's get together.
Let's collaborate. Amazing. Thank you for coming down and having a chat with us. It was great having you.
Do you want to talk about Cygnify?
Yes. Sorry, one last question. What do you think of Cygnify's new talent acquisition as a service?
So it's very interesting. I think that the whole area of talent acquisition has been ripe for disruption for quite some time. I actually know Adam. We work together at Indeed, and I've been following what they've doing, and I see it as an extension of what we were doing. I think that the best companies, the best hiring companies, don't leave hiring to TA or to HR. They actually partner with them. One of the problems we're seeing with talent placement is you go to LinkedIn and you see the same job has been listed for 6 months. And you know that it's been applied to by people are highly qualified. I can tell you, I applied to some of them, and you just get auto-rejected in 20 minutes. But then what happens is you get connected to someone, and all of a sudden, yeah, let's do this, and you get an offer in 2 weeks. I think one of the problems we have right now is that whole pipeline flowing into companies of potential talent is it's got problems. And we need to be bringing better tools. You see a job posted on LinkedIn, and literally it's been up for 24 hours and there's 1,000 applicants. And you're like, I know what that job requires. And I know that there aren't maybe more than 100 people in all of APAC that meet the qualifications for it, but they've got 1,000. And there's no way to separate the wheat from the chaff. So I think, can we bring AI to bear? And also, from a cost point of view, does it make sense to charge someone $100,000 for a hire?
Yes or not?
Is that worthwhile? Especially in a world where it may have made sense 20 years ago when someone would sit in a job for 10 years or even 20 years. You amortize that over 10 years and it's $10,000 a year. But now, where a company, might go through a cataclysmic upheaval in terms of its talent and lay off a bunch of people, and you brought someone in at 100,000 and you're 2 years in, so it cost you 50,000 a year? I don't think so. I think the idea of a fixed price, I know that I'm going to be hiring, for example, for me, let's say I know that I'm going to be hiring 12 people over the next 2 years, and I know that I'm probably going to be pursuing 2 in parallel. Then I use the Cygnify model. I say I sign up for 2 slots, and as I go forward, I can change, I change the role, I change the level, and it meets my needs. So it lets me scale my investment in TA in a very knowable way to my pipeline. Now, of course, the proof is in the eating of the pudding. I look forward to trying out Cygnify and seeing what results it brings me.
Amazing. Glad you're actually thinking along these lines. Thank you for this chat. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure too. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care
You
and
too.
have a good day.
You too.